Wait, do you know what you're about to sign? Let me guess. You just found an offer. You don't want to lose it. You might have multiple offers, and your realtor just sent you a 16 to probably 20 pages or more on the document that you need to sign so they could submit the offer, which, depending on your situation, you want to go ahead and sign it real quick. However, we also want to understand what you're signing. And this video, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. If you are about to submit an offer, or you about to start the process on purchasing a home, this is the video that you might want to see, explaining the 1 to 4 residential contract. It's very important for you as the consumer to have an idea. You don't need to master the contract and fully understand what everything that it says. Just keep in mind that this contract gets revised every 2 years, and even us as realtors need to take a class educating us on what specifically the changes that has been made on this particular contract. So my main goal here is to make you understand and have an understanding of what you're signing. At least be aware where your name and how much you're offering, and little things that you should keep in mind that will help you understand it more. My name is Dany Lopez with eXp Realty. I'm a Houston realtor and surrounding cities. If you're in town and you want to get the process going on searching for homes, I'm your guy to call. With that being said, let's not delay even more and jump right in with what we're here for, with a full understanding of what you're about to sign. So the 1 to 4 family residential contract, you might be getting something like this. The only time that it will be different if you're not purchasing a 1 to 4 families, or if you're purchasing a condo. As you can see, this document, this contract is not used for condominiums. However, also if you're purchasing a new construction, the builder will be using their own contract. If you're purchasing a land, it's gonna be as well different. Sometimes this could be used as townhomes as well. Thinking of if there's any other, if you're doing commercial, this is also gonna be totally different for the contract. So remember, this is only 1 to 4. If it's a duplex, if it's a triplex, if it's 4 units, it's gonna be this one. So let's go ahead and explain this to you. So this is the 1 to 4 family residential contract. What you're gonna be seeing here, make sure that you're signing the right contract, is you're gonna see the symbol, the logo of TREC, and also the Equal Housing Opportunity promulgated by the Texas Real Estate Commission. This basically means that it's been done by lawyers, not realtors. So just keep that in mind. So on section 1, what you're going to be seeing is who are involved in this transaction. As you see right here, it says on the first space is going to be sellers. On the second one is going to be buyers. Remember, as you see right here, notice it's not plural. It's just single, just because these two parties are considered as one. Just that's the way they do it. If you read right here, it says seller agrees to sell and convey to the buyer, and buyer agrees to buy from the seller and property defined below. So as you see right there, it kicks you right to the second point, which is the property right here. On section 2, it tells you about the property, right? The land conveys and accessories and collected refers to the property. So basically anything that the address, it will be placed here, the lot, the block. Now you normally, this is the agent going to be filling this out, so you don't need to worry about it, but at least keep in mind that right here in this section known as the address is going to go there, right? So right here also the city, and over here is going to be the county. The legal description is going to go on top. Don't worry, the realtor should know, and if you know it, good. Just verify it that it's correct. Just FYI, the realtor will be filling all of this out. When you get this form, it's just for you to initial and sign. So just make sure that if you go back to number 1, that your name is spelled correct. This is the way it's going to show the warranty deed. So make sure that it's correct. I'm pretty sure the seller is going to make sure that his name is correct as well. So if we continue back to B, if you continue back to 2B, it says improvement. This section right here, it's focusing on things that are staying with the house. So it tells you right here, the house, garage, and all other fixes and improvement attached to the above described real property. It doesn't get more clear than that, right? So if it's attached to the property, it will give you a list of things that are included. I won't go in detail, but what I'm gonna do is I am gonna attach a PDF file so you could read it and have a blank copy of this. To C, I'm moving to section C. It will follow up description and accessories. Okay, these two are very important just because I get a lot of questions when we are searching for a property on what stays, on what doesn't stay. So one of the main things that I get asked is if the refrigerator is staying, and that's negotiable. The refrigerator is not attached. Okay, you go on D. This is also important, is that things that the seller are not including on the sale. So if something is attached, and for example, they do not want to leave their water softener, and it says right here, water softener, everybody is aware that this water softener is not staying. A chandelier, if the seller purchased a $10,000 chandelier and they don't want it to stay, the wife doesn't want it to stay, so there you go, and it's written there, the chandelier is not staying. Moving to number 3. 3 is the sales price, right? If you are doing financing, this will be checked off. It's probably going to be like an X. There you go. Section and top section is pretty explanatory. If you read it, it says cash portion of sales payable to buyer at closing. So in simple term, this will be your down payment of the loan, not your closing cost, the down payment. Okay, and then this will be the difference of whatever of the remaining on the loan, right? So then right here you will see the total amount. If the property is worth 250, it will be 250, and then minus, depending on your down payment, depending on the type of loan you have, if it's FHA, if it's conventional, that's gonna be what goes there, and then minus that, the remaining loan, and then the full amount of the sales price, which is 250. Number 4 is the lease. If by any chance there is a lease in the property, let's say it's a duplex and unit A is being leased, you should, as the new owner, should be getting a copy of the lease so you could review it. If there is any other lease equipment, anything that is being leased is in this part right here. If you're doing a lease back, meaning that the seller is going to be staying for extra days after closing, one of these 3 needs to be checked out. What is residential, fixtures, natural resources. That is basically if there's a company taking out any minerals in the land and there's a lease, you should be getting a copy of that as well. Number 5, earnest money and termination option. This portion is very important as well, just for the fact that when you go on the contract, you as the buyer need to know where your earnest money and your option money is going to go. So here you go. The name of the company goes right here. The address goes right here. And it most likely is going to be on this section. And then the amount of the earnest money goes right here. And the amount of the option goes right here. Once you see this, you get in contact with your realtor and just go drop off the check as soon as you go under contract. Okay, you will have 3 days to deliver the earnest money and option check. If it falls on a weekend, then you have till Monday. Okay, and it says it right here. Earnest money and option check should be made out to escrow. Okay, and maybe paid separately or combined together. All this is self-explanatory right here. It says buyer. This section 1 is basically if there's an agreement that you're gonna deposit an additional earnest money after a certain amount of days has passed. Okay. Section 5B, termination option. It tells you how many days you're gonna get for your option period. It's negotiable. It could be from 5, 7, 10, depending on the number. Also varies, and there's nothing set in stone, but depending on your strategy of negotiating, that's the route you're going to go with you talking this over with your realtor. This is, from my understanding, this is the only time within the contract that you're going to see a time frame, okay, making this effective. Okay, so let's real quick, let's read this over. It says, for nominal consideration, the receipt of the seller which acknowledged and buyer agrees to pay the option fee within the time required, which we already know is 3 days. Seller grants the unrestricted right to terminate the contract, to be giving notice for termination to the seller within X amount of days, which we finished talking about, after the effective date of this contract option period. Notice that under this paragraph must be given by 5 o'clock. So basically what it means is, like, for example, if you have 5 days of option period and on your last day, on your 5th day, you have until 5 p.m. to give a notice. So quick tip, do not wait till 5 p.m. It's impossible for the realtor to send you the contract and send you a document for you to sign, to indicating that you're gonna terminate, so they could send it to the other realtor. So if I was you, by 4 o'clock, you should, as soon as you know that you don't want this home, just tell your realtor and avoid going over this time. Okay. So it tells you right here what happens if you're thinking, what happens if I do go over this time? It tells you right here, right? Number C and D, it tells you, and E, if you want to go over it, is a failure to timely deliver this earnest money. If the buyer fails to deliver the earnest money within the time required, seller may terminate this contract and exercise seller remedy under the paragraph 15, or both by providing notice to buyer before buyer delivering the earnest money. Okay, so basically you're going to be losing your earnest money. Number six is title policy. This is who pays the policy. Just FYI, is not the seller, is all of this negotiable. But for the most part, when I do my contracts, I always try to put the seller to pay the title policy, and then right here you put which title policy, what title company, as you see right here, is going to be doing the research. Okay, and if you scroll down, it tells you basically what things that the title company is going to be doing. Okay, over here is, you see two checkbox. It's this part right here is if you want to, for the title company to send somebody and to exactly measure the area of the property, right? What belongs to you, the land territory. I recommend this when you're buying a big amount of acres. You want to make sure that whatever is yours and nothing gets missed out. And plus, since you're going to be dealing, if you're buying multiple land, so you might want to make sure that you don't go to any others. I normally recommend this when someone is going to buy 1 or more acres. B, commitment. Title company will be sending you, nowadays is by email, documents, just giving you a report on the title of the property. Just make sure that you review it If there's anything that stands out, your realtor will reach out to you saying like, hey, title found this issue. They are working on it. The whole purpose of this is for you to get a clean title. Let's move along. C is survey. So 1, 2, and 3. Who's this? Basically, who's gonna pay for the survey, right? 2, you see that the buyer is paying for the survey, and they give them 17 days. Don't worry, you don't need to go about hire a company. Title company will be taking care of this as well. However, we negotiable on who pays for this service, right? So as you see right here, 2 is the buyer is gonna pay for it. Number 3 is seller is gonna pay it. And number 1, I left it for last in particular, just because right here you decide, number 1, in the event that the seller has one but is not accepted, then you see who's going to be responsible, either the seller or the buyer, right? So it's very important who decides who's going to purchase this. Is just an extra cost that's going to fall. Yes, if you're thinking if they could split it, yes, there's also a possibility that the survey cost could be split. Section D is basically the usage of the property. Since this is residential, most likely it will be residential. E, it's all additional information that you're going to be seeing with the title company as well. If you look at E2 is right here, is does the property has a homeowner association? Depending if your property does, then you will see type yes. If the property does not, then you will see type no. So that's for the title company to start working on the homeowner association and start transferring names as well, and make sure that everything is up to par, that the current owner has been paying that. Let's scroll down. All these section, guys, is just talking about taxation, utilities, certification, all of that. It's most of this stuff is self-explanatory. You could go ahead and read it, and also if you have any questions, you could also talk to your realtor. My whole purpose here is for you to have an understanding on what things are gonna be most important to you. Like I mentioned right here, number 8, the transfer fee. If it has a homeowner association, the propane system, that's another document that goes along with this. Okay. Number 7, we could spend some time here. So let's go. Assets inspection and utility. Sellers should permit and buyers grant access to the property at a reasonable time frame. All of this is just because in order when you go into contract, you want to do an inspection. One of the things that every realtor recommends highly, right? So there you go. They talking about this. If you move on to 7B, to talk about seller disclosure, is a document that you should have received. Just the seller sharing all the information they know about the property. So if you haven't received it, you put no, I have not received it, and then there should be X amount of days. If they have received it, if you have received it, then it goes right there. It says yes, I have received it, and then you can move forward. By any chance that you did not receive it after the set days, then you as a buyer have the right to terminate, exit the contract. And the event, also the third one, this is very, very uncommon that is not used, saying that the seller disclosure is waived. Number C, lead paint, just letting you know that if the property was built before 1978, there's an additional document that goes with it, that the house may have lead paint. Moving to D, accepting the property condition as is. So a lot of my clients get confused, saying that accepting the number 1 says buyer accepts the property as is, and number 2 says buyer accepts the property as is, provided the seller, and then they should do any condition. And what this basically means, to the understanding, is that you are accepting the property when you first took a look at it, right? When you first went to view the property, that's the conditions that you're accepting. But that does not prevent you from negotiating price or any conditions that you do during your inspections, right? Anything that you find, anything that your inspector pointed out. E is basically pointing out that there might be the event that after the inspection, and that your lender that you chose may require some additional repairs. And those repairs normally need to be done, non-negotiable. It explains to you after the repairs are done and treatment, explains all of this right here. Number 8, residential service. This is a home warranty. Don't get it confused with insurance. It's totally different. It's just you purchasing some warranty. Normally the seller will pay for it. However, just keep in mind this is negotiable depending on the situation that you're in, how bad you want the property. Talk to your realtor whether you should put it or not. Number 8 is basically anyone related to the realtor that is going to be involved. It explains right here. Normally it's like grandparents, parents, and sisters and brothers. That's about it. Number 9, closing. Everyone wants to know when it's closing, and it's an important date. So on section 9, you will see it. Get with your lender, get with your realtor, make sure that you know the full amount that you need to bring to the title, and make sure you bring a valid ID. You could also do wire, which most title companies will send you the instructions on how to go about that. Once at closing, if you look at B, there's certain things that you're going to be receiving. You should be receiving a clean title, nothing attached to the title. Number 10, very simple. However, a lot of people don't understand. 10, possession. Okay, it says it really simple. And let's read it together. Seller shall deliver the buyer possession of the property, its present and required condition, ordinary wear and tear, except, right? This is how you receive it. This is the conditions upon closing funding, and or the other condition is according to a temporary residential lease form promulgated. Okay, so once you sign, the seller needs to sign. Those documents are handed over to the lender. Once the lender agrees with that, everything looks fine. They will release the funds. Once the funds are received, title company or your realtor will give you the keys of the house. You see the exchange. There needs to be an exchange. If there's no exchange, the seller cannot receive their money. If there's no exchange, then the buyer cannot receive his keys. Okay, it's a mutual exchange. Okay, so there's no other way to go about it. Now, if there's a previous agreement that the seller is going to be staying in the property, right? If you see right there, according to a temporary residential lease, right? That means that there has been a previous agreement that the seller will be staying in the property for X amount of days or weeks. Okay, so no, at this point, no one should be surprised. And it continues. If you look at B, it shows smart devices that should be talked about. Let's review that real quick. It says smart devices, meaning a device that connects to the internet and able remote control. I mean, we don't need to talk about that. We could delete that. Number 11, special provisions. This is an area that a lot of realtors, if every realtor tries to avoid writing something there, since we are not lawyers. However, if you choose to write something in addition to this whole contract, then the buyer could write something in there, but it's really great area. So you got to be very careful on what you write here. So if I was you, as the buyer, you should get legal advice. 12, settlement and other expenses. This section, I'll say very simple. Seller concession, seller contribution, you name it. This number right here is basically if the buyer, you are asking the seller to help you with X amount of money, this goes right here. Now, just keep an understanding that the money that goes here is to cover closing costs. It says very buyer expenses right here. If you look at 2, it's buyer expenses, right? So if you read this number 2, it covers what it should be covering. Okay, so make sure that your realtor is fully aware of what they're doing. Number 13, it's also a very common question to ask, is proration, is being that everything is going to be prorated. The taxes are going to be prorated. HOA fees are going to be prorated. The seller will pay up to the day of closing, and then after that, the new owner will take over. Simple terms. Hope you understand that. Number 14 is if you on the contract and something happens to the property during that time frame, you need to give the seller a reasonable amount of time to try to fix it so they can continue with the sale. Okay. And then if that doesn't happen, then the seller has the option to leave, to exit the agreement. 15, 16, and 17 is basically if for some reason there's things get out of hand between the buyer and seller, people are not complying to this contract, then it's advised that legal advice is searched. Just keep in mind, you as a buyer, the realtor is not a lawyer or an attorney. We move down to 21. This is basically information of the buyer and the seller. Okay, it's pretty simple. Your names, all of this is going to be pre-filled out, so don't worry about it. Number 22 is basically all other documents that go attached with the offer, right? I might do another video on explaining these other documents. Third-party finance. This is about your financing. This is about your HOA. Or everything that is clicked that your realtor will be clicking basically means that those files are going to be included on this once you start signing. If you bring a lawyer, you put them right here, and that's it, guys. Right here you see you as the buyer will sign, and then the seller will sign. Understand this, guys, that the dates are super important. If you sign today on a Monday and then your realtor sends it over, this contract does not take effect until the seller signs. Okay, so and then once they sign, that's when we go into those 3 days that you have to deliver your earnest money and your option check. If the buyer signs today and the seller signs today, the following day is when day number 1 starts. Okay, going to the next page. This is all disclosures. Okay, and right here is just broker information, my name, that's my license number, my brokerage, and then you will see here the information of the listing agent. Keep going down. This part right here is basically the title company will be filling this out once they receive the earnest and option money. And that's basically it, guys. I hope that you have a better understanding of what you're signing. I hope this was clear enough and it was useful. Of course, you might still have questions. Feel free to answer them below, and I'll be gladly to assist you. So my name is Dany Lopez, and if you're ever in town in Houston and need some assistance, or you're thinking of buying or selling, you could DM me or send me a message, and I'll be more than happy to assist you. You have a blessed day, and